Hi, everyone. Welcome to the CPA Lady Podcast. My name is Marjorie McPike. I am your host. We're here on the CPA Lady Podcast. We talk about everything from accounting, taxes, generational wealth, estate planning, and anything to help you grow in your career and in your life financially. I have with me today Nesha Pai. She is a CPA, and I am going to let Nesha give you, tell you some more about her.
Great. Hi. Thank you for having me on the show, Marjorie.
You're welcome.
Excited to be here today. I own a company called Pai CPA here in Charlotte, North Carolina. I just celebrated my 10th year.
Awesome.
And I describe my company as an outsourced accounting department. So we are an extension of a small business's team and handle all aspects of their accounting department. And we take care of what I call the front end of accounting. So we help you set up your accounting system, your QuickBooks or whatever financial software you use, and kind of help you create your financial ecosystem. And so that's who I am. I just published my first book in January of 2020 called Overcoming Ordinary Obstacles. And it is not even about accounting. It is chronicling my journey as a first-gen Indian woman born and raised in the South. And so that has been sort of my labor of love in addition to my practice.
That is awesome. Awesome. I have to definitely check out your book, Overcoming Ordinary Obstacles.
Yeah, it just won a national award with the American Book Fest in the multicultural nonfiction category. So my dream is one day to sell my accounting practice and travel the world and speak on my book.
Love it. Love it, love it, love it. Oh my goodness. That is so awesome.
Thank you.
That is so awesome. I love it. And especially because it's a passion. I like it when we can take our passions and put them to use and do the things that we really enjoy doing, because there's so much more fulfilling, right?
There's more to debits and credits, and I feel like accountants and CPAs kind of tend to stick in their box, right? If we look at our colleagues, they stick in their box, and I'm like, we're so much more than debits and credits. We're so much more than the financial statements. Like, what else can you contribute to the world? And that is what set my idea in motion. Like, I'm more than this. Like, how do I touch more people and help more people outside of just accounting?
Right. Love it, love it. So awesome. Okay. So you said that you operate on the front end, and when we were talking before, you said that you help implementing systems. So let's talk about that, because like I mentioned to you before, one of the reasons for starting the CPA Lady Podcast was to help entrepreneurs to get information on how to, know what to expect for accounting and taxes and just setting up their business. So let's talk about that.
Yeah, so we both talked about so many people coming in out of the pandemic, leaving their corporate job, wanting to start their own gig, and not knowing what to do. And it actually inspired me to write an article about what I thought the top 10 things were that you needed. And so many people, I think, leave out the most important part of a business, which is their financial backbone. And you have to set that up right. So I actually have a top 10, if you'd like me to share that.
Yes, you would.
Number one, absolutely, without a doubt, get a good financial software. I cringe when people say they use a spreadsheet methodology. They just, use a box of receipts, like they take their shoebox of receipts and give it to their accountant.
Mhm.
I say, no. I'm like, get a software. I like QuickBooks. I don't get paid by them. I don't get a kickback, but I think QuickBooks is probably, in my opinion, and I've tried them all, the best software, but just get a software, right? And stop with creating spreadsheets and receipts. Get a business bank account that you connect to it,
Yes.
or a credit card. You definitely need a system. You need a financial system that can categorize all your transactions and create these beautiful financials. That is first and foremost, even if you just have 10 transactions a month.
Mhm.
I always say get an accounting software. Second, I tell people like have access to a good business attorney, whether or not you use your attorney. A lot of times, you will need your attorney, at least in North Carolina, because we as CPAs can't do this, but you want them to set up your LLC, and some of your corporate organization. If you have partners, you're going to want to have a solid operating agreement. I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs I run into and they don't have any of that stuff, yet they have partners. And then, I have seen a million times fights ensue, or, lawsuits ensue between each other. So I'm like, have a good business attorney, get advice from your attorney, right? Before you just go out into the world. Like, do you need contracts with your clients? That's a big one. I see people doing business and they don't have contracts with their clients.
Wow. That's important, because
massive exposure.
Yes. And I like that you said they're doing business and they're partners, and they have different people that are contributing, but you don't even know who your partners are. You don't have any information, name, address, social security number, they just give you money, right? And you just started doing business.
Yeah, like get it in writing, get everything in writing, everything. That's a big one. That's a huge one to me. The third, I always say, make sure you create an entity separate of you. So I'm big on getting an employer identification number with the IRS instead of just using your social security number, right, as a sole prop. Get an EIN, create a separate entity from yourself.
You're saying even if they're a sole proprietor, you still recommend that they get a separate?
I do, yeah. And I'm not a big sole prop person. I kind of like that extra layer of protection with an LLC, which is why I'm like, definitely talk to an attorney. Because I feel like, there's that whole piercing the corporate veil situation. So, if someone wanted to sue you and you were a sole prop, they could come after all your personal assets. Whereas if you were an LLC, it's just confined to what is in that LLC as your business, right? So that's a big one for me personally, to kind of keep your personal and your business separate. Outsource your bookkeeping. That's my next one. Do not try to do it yourself.
Okay.
Even when there are people who try to do it themselves, they don't understand accounting enough to know where to categorize things. So people were getting the PPP loans, and I saw people categorizing them as income. I'm like, that's not income, or even if you get a great software system, you still have to have a basic knowledge. So I'm like, outsource your bookkeeping.
Right. Okay.
No matter what, just go ahead and outsource it. If you have simple transactions initially as you're opening your business, that's fine. But most business owners don't understand like fixed assets and leasehold improvements, and things are over their heads. So I think it's so important to have your transactions categorized correctly, or you're going to completely misstate your financials, which means you could be paying way more in taxes than you should be, or vice versa.
Or not paying enough taxes, or
and then later down the road, catching up to you.
Right.
A big one for me, and you might see this too, is opening up. It's so simple, but people don't do this. Open up a business checking account.
Yes. So simple.
Yeah.
And run all your transactions.
A lot of people commingle, their personal business. No, do not do that. Like, that's a big one for me. And I don't know if you see that a lot, but I do.
A lot. Yeah. That's something that I tell people all the time. Separate the two. I don't care if it's not a business bank account. Just put in a totally separate account that you only run your business stuff in until you can get to the point where you get
until you could get one. And there should be no excuses. You typically just need your articles of organization or incorporation and your EIN letter from the IRS,
right,
to take into a bank, and you can open one up.
Right?
Nothing to it. Another big one for me is, and I'm passionate about this because in Charlotte, I teach a sort of freebie class to entrepreneurship groups, Financial Statements 101. I feel like entrepreneurs should have a basic understanding how to read the financial
Financial
statement.
statement. Exactly.
A good book, and I don't know if you read this, is Managing by the Numbers. Managing by the Numbers by a guy named Chuck. I think his last name is Kremer, Kremer. It's a good read. It's a good read for like sort of the layman business owner that didn't take accounting classes.
Okay.
But I just tell them, I'm like, your checkbook, your checking account isn't going to give you, you might be making money, but it's not going to give you the full picture. And I need you to understand what assets are, what are liabilities, how to calculate your gross profit margin.
Right. But see, so many people think that they don't need to know that. They just need to know how to bring in the money or how to make the money.
Well, that's one piece of it, but they're missing out. And also, like, I like to empower, I want people to feel empowered. And I feel like, just knowing that little part of it limits you. It limits you to how much more you can grow your business and kind of the knowledge that you have about your business. And, it'll keep you small. In my opinion, it'll keep you small if you don't know the bigger picture, right? It'll keep you sort of in a limited box of like, well, I'm making money, but how much more powerful would you be if you knew the bigger picture?
Bigger picture.
And you understood it.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
And to get to that point, you have to at least be tracking your income and expenses in order to even have a financial statement. So
yeah, which brings me to my point of my biggest, I think we talked about this before we started recording, like my biggest pet peeve is not having the proper chart of accounts.
mm-hmm.
And you have to go to someone who understands how to set that up.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like what's out of the box from most accounting software. I love QuickBooks, but I think their chart of accounts is horrible. I like to break mine out. I literally do an analysis with my client and I'm like, revenue, and then we get into cost of goods sold,
Mm-hmm.
right? So you can have a true profit margin.
Right.
And then I even go further and I do operating expenses and then I do admin in general.
Admin and general expenses.
Yeah. And I layer it like that and then when I'm done, my clients are like, oh my God, that's so great because I can truly see at the different stages what I'm spending.
Yeah.
And so that's how I set up all my clients. And if I think that is the best way to look at your financials.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So you said Financial Statements 101. That's the class that you teach.
Yes.
Okay.
And yeah, I go through, I basically I kind of took what's in the book Managing by Numbers and I diced it up into a really short presentation because let's be honest, like to teach Financial Statements 101, it would take a whole day. But usually I only have like 45 minutes or an hour. And but just kind of going through what is a financial statement. A lot of people are afraid of the balance sheet. Like they don't even know what it is.
Right. And
it is, to me, just as equally important to know the balance sheet as it is your income statement.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So that's a huge one. But yeah, I like to at least teach people what does it look like? How is it laid out? What are assets, liabilities? What's equity? A lot of people are afraid of equity.
Right.
Yeah, so I do like to teach at least on both of those statements. I don't go so much into cash flow, but I definitely do with the other two.
Okay.
But it starts with having a really good chart of accounts and making sure things are categorized properly, right? Or you're going to have financials that don't make sense.
They don't make sense. Right.
Garbage in, garbage out.
Right. Exactly.
So my eighth thing is controversial, maybe to some accountants. I say it's okay to have debt. It's okay to have debt. And the reason I say that is a lot of people try to bootstrap their business, which is great if you can, or if you can get an investor, but most normal people don't have investors, or they don't have the money. So what I did when I started my business is I had access to, actually it was a $10,000 line of credit from a credit union. And because I didn't have the money to completely start everything up. I didn't have the money to hire a lawyer or have a website done or get business cards. And, you have to invest in your business.
Right.
And you have to do it right from the get-go.
Right.
You have to. And so I took the time to invest in that, and I needed to borrow money to do that.
Mhm.
But I took a chance on myself, and I'm like, I'm going to be able to pay this back, which I did many times over. But I say it's okay to have debt. You don't, and you don't want to be out there going crazy. Like, this doesn't mean like go out and run up your credit card,
Right.
but be smart about it. But, a lot of business owners I meet, they're afraid. And I'm like, well, no, you kind of need debt sometimes to expand your business. You might need, a small business loan to buy that building, or, you might need a loan to buy the equipment, and it's okay.
A lot of people that I'm finding or that I'm working with are doing things on the internet, so they don't have to worry, they're not so much concerned about the debt. So it's like, it's easy to start trading stocks, or easy to become an affiliate and start just generating an income from your business. But then they don't go back and think about all the other things. It's just the money is coming in, but they don't have any financial statements, so they don't know how they're going to be taxed on that. So, and I think that's kind of how the generation has changed.
Interesting. Yeah.
A lot of them are not doing the brick and mortar businesses, so they don't have the debt. So like, even when it comes to choosing an entity, that's something that will come into play normally, right? Is how the debt is going to affect your basis, if you have a loss, if you have a profit, but most of them are just having a profit.
Interesting. There's this whole world of the cryptocurrency and the day trading and stuff. And I kind of I'm conservative in that way. Like, I'm old school. So I'm like, I don't even want to touch that stuff. But, there are people talking about making, even I have a twin brother that's into it. And, I just made $6,000 today, I don't trust any of that stuff. And I'm like, well, accounting rules haven't even been fully, like, even the IRS is trying to figure out how to deal with all that. Right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But good point. Like, a lot of people are just starting businesses, off of the net, but they still need to learn how to manage expenses, or what expenses can they even write off?
Right.
Because they're going to show a ton of income and not have expenses against it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And that's a big part of it too, because you're not going to have all the expenses. You're not going to have the rent, the utilities, the major expenses that you would have if you had a building. It's just internet expense, or subscriptions, or
Yeah, they have to watch that. They have to watch that, because they could get to the end of the year and be like, whoa, I have this huge tax bill. So, they too need some kind of planning.
Right. And that's where that part comes in, is the tax planning and keeping good financial records, right? Because if
100%.
you don't know what it is that you're making, if you don't know what revenue you're bringing in and what expenses you have, then that number is going to be a big surprise to you at the end of the year. And that's what happened in 2020 for a lot of people.
Absolutely. And that's a really great point you bring up, actually, because people are like, ooh, I'm making all this money, and then they have this bill that's like a 50% tax bill. Yes. So yeah, people have to be careful and plan ahead and know how to manage their income along with their expenses.
Right.
A lot of people don't know what to write off, right? Or what they can write off. And so that's why it's very important that they do consult with a CPA.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Yes. Mm-hmm. And have some type of system in place. And that's why I tell people, the separate bank account, linking it to QuickBooks. I like QuickBooks as well, but running anything that you do for your business, just run it through that account, because then that way you're tracking it and it's easier to keep up with it than you're waiting, the end of the year and you don't have anything and you're trying to pull things together. Right?
Yeah, exactly right. And I won't even take a client if they tell me that they're on a shoebox receipt method or a spreadsheet method. But no, because I'm like, I want to teach them the right way and the right habits,
Okay. Because I actually created a spreadsheet for people. Just, if you have nothing else, it's like here.
If you have nothing else and you have limited transactions. Sure.
Yeah, but when you have a lot of transactions, you need something.
Maybe in year one, that's great. Are you going to grow your business, or is it just a hobby? If it's just a hobby, a spreadsheet's fine. But if you really want to grow your business, after year one, I'd say let's invest in a software.
The software. Okay. So you said you've tried the other. So have you used Wave and Zero?
I have 2 clients, both on Wave and Zero. Not a huge fan.
Okay.
Not a huge fan, but if they want to use it, then we use it. It's funny. I just picked up a client that has Wave, and I don't like them. I don't like them at all. I just don't think they have the same capabilities. And I'm kind of old school in how things are named and what they look like. And so I really think QuickBooks has the best, and their online program is fantastic.
I like their online. I tell
And
people, I like to be able to, if it's 10 o'clock at night, 11 o'clock at night, I can go in and look at your books and I don't have to bother you. You know what I mean?
yeah. And I think that it just has more freedom as an accountant, from the accountant perspective, to do things and for your financials to look a certain way and to pull the reports that you need. That's just me, and so one more thing I wanted to point out that people totally forget about is when you become an entrepreneur, you're probably doing it for many reasons, but you're doing it to create generational wealth.
Yes.
Right? You're doing it to build wealth. And I say to people, make sure you protect that generational wealth. So get a will, get a life insurance policy, protect what you've built.
Yes.
Right. And that goes back to making sure you have an attorney, but like protect what you're building. That's a big one to me. When I first started my practice, I was like, hey, I'm creating this and I want to make sure that it all goes to my son. And even if you don't have children, like, you want to make sure that what you're building is protected, and that, if something, God forbid, something were to happen to you, it is being taken care of.
It's being taken care of. Yes.
A lot of my businesses that have like partners, I'm like, get a key man life insurance policy. These are things people don't think about, but very important, in creating, in building your wealth. It's a very important part.
Yes. And like you said, a lot of people don't think about that.
Not at all.
They're just making money.
Yeah. Just operating, making money. And I'm like, whoa, let's slow down and put the things in place that will protect what you're building.
Yes. Love it. Okay. So we got to step 8, or it's the top 8 things. So what's the next 2?
Let's see. we probably combined. The chart of accounts was one on its own that I talked about. And then the last one was this is a no-brainer for you and I, but a lot of people don't think the way we do. Plan ahead for tax time. So I tell people, go to your CPA at least twice a year, at least, which means mid-year and then the fall again before December.
Yes.
I think a lot of people wait until December.
Yes.
A lot of people do. And then they're like, oh my God, I owe all this money. And I'm like, you could have planned ahead. So I say plan way ahead before tax time.
Yeah.
And because a lot of times, you can make changes as you go along. Like you can create an S Corp and start drawing payroll. You can open up a SEP IRA. You can, there's all kinds of things you can do if you just plan ahead and go to your CPA ahead of time, not in December.
So now is the time to start planning, looking at where you are, and I say too, like looking at where you are now, like June, we're in June. So July 1 is a good time to implement a system.
100%. I you know what, after I get done closing the books for my clients, I send them their financials and I say, okay, go talk to your tax person. Here's where you are mid-year. And he's going to need these numbers to do your overall, household tax planning. And, we can talk about, he can help you with what strategy, do we need to increase your payroll? Do we need to, start a retirement plan? What, do you need to buy a vehicle or some type of asset?
or make a piece of major equipment or something that you're looking at doing that you can do now so that it's going to help you at tax time instead of waiting until December 31st. Right?
That's a big one. And, you know, just because I know, and I'm just speaking from experience, I know so many entrepreneurs that wait until December. And I'm like, don't do that. You know, you could prevent so much heartache.
Yes, yes. And also too, like I don't know, it's just you, but you know ahead of time what your tax bill is going to look like so you can start preparing for that instead of getting a big bill in, you know, February, March of the next year, you know, and there were things that you could have done, or just that you could have put the money aside.
100%. You could pay into estimated taxes. You could put it aside. Like so many things you can do so that you're not stuck on April 15th without having the cash to pay.
Yes, yes.
So
you mentioned estimated taxes. A lot of people don't even know what that is. So can you just explain?
Yeah, so you know, the IRS and most state agencies require you to kind of pay in your taxes throughout the year, right? So say your tax liability on April 15th is $10,000 and you didn't pay anything throughout the year to cover that, you could get penalized. They'll penalize you for not paying it throughout the year. So what you should have done is each quarter pay in, let's say $2,500 to cover that $10,000.
Right.
And the www.irs.gov has a place where you can go in and set up sort of an estimated tax plan. And you want to get with your CPA on this, right? Whoever prepares your taxes. And all state departments of revenue also have a system on their website of where you can pay in estimated taxes. And you want to pay in quarterly based on, again, what you think your tax liability is, or cover at least what you paid in the previous year. So, you know, as a safe harbor. So, you know, that's something usually for people who don't have a W-2 vehicle. So if you're a sole prop, if you are just an LLC and not taxed as an S Corp. As you know, S Corps have to, the shareholders have to draw W-2 salary. Right. And that is their vehicle to pay in their taxes. So, you know, the estimated taxes is really for sole props and LLCs. Yeah.
And you mentioned that you do like the systems part of that, of helping a business set up their systems, right? So like, yes. What does that look like in working with you? Because a lot of times people don't come to a CPA because they're because they don't know, or they're intimidated, they don't know what to expect. So kind of what does that look like in working with you?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think also people are intimidated by the fact, like they just assume, oh, all they do is my tax return, right? And yes, traditionally that's what happened, but our profession has changed so much into being more of an advisory role.
Right.
Yeah, and a partner. And so, you know, I basically, what I tell people is pretend you're in a big company and you've got this building, and down the hall is us, the accounting department, and we're going to handle all of your accounting needs, anything that would touch the accounting realm, and help you with that part of your business so that you can go and run your business and do the operations. And we help you get all of that set up, your accounting, bookkeeping, your, you know, helping you like with a filing system, helping you vet maybe like insurance and get your payroll set up. Work with your tax person. So we would handle and touch everything that would touch an accounting department.
Okay. And it's just outsourced.
Yeah. And so, you know, that takes it off of the business owner's plate, and then they can just do what they love to do and run the operations. Right. And if they turn to us and say, hey, we need financials through Q1, we're like, here you go.
Here you go.
You know, because we're constantly keeping up.
Okay.
Kind of real time. So
right. So how do you handle the the cost part of it, because a lot of people don't want to pay for that type of service because it's not a revenue generating service.
So great question. I'd love to answer this one. So I left the billable hourly horrible world of accounting. Like, this is why CPAs and lawyers get bad raps, right? Because of our billable hour structure. Hated it. So I have a subscription model. So for a great buy-in fee per month, you get the expertise of me, the controller, who has, I'm a CPA of 25 years now, plus a staff person for a fraction of a cost of hiring somebody, even part-time. And that's how I explain it at first. And then I say, the value you get is beyond, right? And I said, I can't explain that to you until you experience it.
Right.
But I said, we are here to relieve your pain points, period. We're here, and you have to experience it, like money back guarantee kind of thing. Like, you have to experience it in order to understand the value, because for you to lay your head down at night peacefully, do you consider that a value add? Is that a value add to you?
Right.
You know, we are going to help you make more money because we're going to get your financials right. You're going to be able to go to sleep peacefully knowing your finances are handled. You can't put a price on that.
You can't put a price on that. I like that. But so many people just don't value the accountant.
And they're not my people. They're not my people.
They're not your people.
If someone starts off with price, I immediately, my little red flag goes up and I'm like, that's not my client. And you know what? I've referred out people who, you know, are focused on price only because they're not my client.
They're not your client. Okay. What industry do you focus on? Do you have like a niche or?
You know, I started out with restaurants, and in my 10 years, I don't have one. So I have now lawyers, doctors. I have a country rock band from Austin, Texas. I have, you know, consulting firms, you know, basically professional services. I have hair salons. I've just grown, and I don't really have a niche. And I will tell you, COVID, if anything, COVID taught us as CPAs is, thank God we don't have a niche, because if I stayed in restaurants, my entire business would have gone down.
This is true.
And so it actually, if anything, taught me to diversify even more, because accounting is accounting. You just have to understand the industry and how it works.
Right.
And tailor it. And that's it.
That's it.
You know?
Okay. I like the subscription model. And the subscription model is just for the CFO services. It doesn't include the tax.
It's for everything. Oh yeah, not the tax part. So, you know, I give you a scope of work and it says, you know, here's what we're going to do for you as your accounting department. And it's a monthly fee. There's no surprises. Like, if there's extra work involved to do something, then I will say, hey, you know, I got to bill you for this extra work outside of the scope. But I'm pretty good. I've become pretty good at figuring out the scope and what the scope should be. 10 years in, like, I did not, obviously I had a lot of mistakes, you know, when I first started, and I undervalued and underbilled myself. But I've come to, and I might still be underbilling myself for all I know, but but I feel like my people are going to value, they're going to value what accounting services are going to do for their business.
Awesome.
Right? You either you get it or you don't.
Or you don't, right? Or you don't. And so many people need it. So yeah. And I like that it's the subscription, because people are easier. It's easier for someone to pay something per month, or they think so, compared to paying it all at one time.
Right. Or even hourly, right? Because it all washes out in the end. And I just feel that the people that don't value it, I've had people come back to me because they got a tax notice, they got in trouble with the IRS, or, you know, something happened, or, you know, when people get in trouble is when they'll value you.
Right.
And what I try to tell people is, like, don't ever get to that point.
Right.
Right. Don't ever get to that point. So
that's good. That's good. Okay. Anything that you want to share? What's next for you? I know you talked about your book and going out.
Yeah. You know, that, just building my practice, growing my practice. I'd like to sell it in 10 years. I don't know if that's going to be too aggressive, but I want to just go out and speak and travel. And whether it be on accounting and teaching entrepreneurs or talking about my book, the subject matter of my book. But yeah, I want to get out and just reach more people.
Reach more people. Yes. Okay. Anything you want to leave with the audience? Any tip? I know it's going to be get your
get your financials in order. Go out and hire someone, take the initiative to understand your financial statements and, take an interest in it. Even if it's a small part, of your brain capacity about your business, and you don't really want to do it, make the effort to even just take a small part of it to understand it. So I want people to feel empowered.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I like that. And that kind of makes me think, it's like, just as you're working with people, as I'm working with people, just to keep educating and educating. That's a big thing for me, is educating. I want people to understand their taxes and understand what's going on. So, maybe that's what we have to do is because there are so many new entrepreneurs that have never taken a business class, they just know how to make money. It's like, it's the education piece. We have to keep educating them and empowering so that they see the value that we
That's
want.
a great point. I mean, the biggest reason my business survived is because I knew accounting, right? Mm-hmm. But if I were an artist or I were a restaurant owner, I'm like, I wouldn't know anything about accounting. Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
yeah, that's what we have to do. So awesome. So Nesha Pai, thank you so much for being with me today.
Thank you. This has been so amazing, Marjorie. And it's so cool that you're on the West Coast and I'm on the East Coast. And thank you. It's always great to meet other fellow women CPAs.
Yes.
And I hope we stay in touch and connected.
We will definitely stay in touch and connected. If anyone wants to reach out to Nesha, I will leave her information below. She is at Nesha Pai on Instagram and Pi CPA and Piece of the Pie. I like that one, Piece of the Pie.
That's my little, it's a side gig podcast. It's not as professional as yours is. I probably put out like 26 episodes in like 4 years. But I interview Charlotte entrepreneurs.
Awesome.
Just to get like what made them successful and that sort of thing. So
okay, I've heard good things about Charlotte. I've never been, so it's on my list of places to visit.
Well, if you ever come out, come see me.
I will come see you.
I will show you the city. And where are you, in San Diego?
I'm an hour north of San Diego.
Oh wow, beautiful area.
It's right down the freeway, so I'm there all
beautiful.
the time. Yeah,
beautiful.
I love San Diego. Yeah, I'm born and raised in San Diego, so it's always near and dear to my heart. So if you see me on Instagram, I'm always showing the water, because whenever
that is I had a friend of mine move to San Diego from Charlotte, and I'm so jealous of her pictures and her stories and the weather, and it's just it's gorgeous. I know my son had been, is it Torrey Pines, whatever the golf course is? My son went there for a couple of US Opens with his father, and it's just gorgeous out there. Yes.
It's very beautiful. It's expensive, but it's beautiful. So
now, do you do taxes or do you do?
I do taxes. So I do individual and entity taxes. I do some accounting and bookkeeping, but it's primarily taxes.
So you would be like, I wish you're in Charlotte, because a lot of my people want Charlotte-based CPAs, tax CPAs, but I would so be partnering with you. I'd be like, she's going to do all the tax work.
We can still do it, even if I'm not in Charlotte. And I should probably stop my recording, because I'm still recording this. I
was like, you probably don't want that in the recording, but yeah, I would love to keep you in mind, because there are no, especially minority, there are no minority women in Charlotte.
Really?
Who do taxes.
That's interesting.
And I've had a couple people actually come to me and say, I only want to work with a minority woman. And I'd be like, I don't know any.
Yes. You can do taxes anywhere.
Yeah, you
especially
do.
now with the way we are virtually. And
I love it. Well, I'm going to keep you in mind.
okay, awesome, awesome.
Yeah.
We'll do
So
it.
I'd love to work with you. Thank you so much.
You're
And
welcome. Thank you so
do
much.
do you need anything from me, like a picture or anything like that? Or
I do. Hold on one second. I'm just going to put on my closing. So thank you all for watching and listening to the CPA Lady podcast. I will again leave Nesha's information below, and feel free, please follow her on Instagram at Nesha Pai. And if you're ever in Charlotte, look her up. Thank you.